got like 50,000 record buttons to hit this morning. I think after wisdom, I'm definitely gonna share my screen to just show you guys, or not my screen, my videos to show you guys how everything's starting to look like here in the behind section. So apologies for that. Just gonna do one meeting setting here. And then just a quick update, and then I'll jump straight into wisdom for this morning. Let's just do a quick update here and meeting settings, play, join, leave sound. There we go. Switch that off. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wisdom. It's absolutely amazing having everyone here again. This morning, this is I want to say week 11. I only usually see at the notes or in the resources when I send that out, I have a look at what's a week. If you joining for the first time, you'll notice that on certain platforms it does look a bit better. You're more than welcome to sponsor cameras so that we can do the 4K stream on every single platform. But we're busy changing the setup. So in this week's resources that will come, things will start changing. We are busy promoting a bit more professional newsletter. And in our newsletter with the resources, there will be additional links. So please just have a quick read on that. We'll try not to make a quick jump to new video platforms and everything like that. We'll try to make it a bit more strategic and things all with strategy. So if you're new here for the first time, unfortunately we're in week 11, so it's unfair towards others for me to do a long intro, but very, very quick. This is a place where entrepreneurs weekly meet up to discuss certain elements and certain topics of wisdom to apply in your life. Wisdom that gets inspired by the book of Proverbs, but also that we see, other people do correctly according to God's blueprint. And we learn from that and we challenge ourselves and we implement it. It's 30 minutes long. That's how long it is. I think the last two sessions was 18 minutes long. 30 minutes is the cap, and we try not to extend that. But I think that's that for now. Just want to make a quick check. Everything good. Everything looks good. And we can jump straight into that. So one of the books I started reading this year is The Bait of Satan. If you can see it there behind me, I also put it there. The Bait of Satan is a book by John Bevere, and this is going to sound like a very doomsday start to this morning's session, and I promise you it's not. Honestly, I thought this would be one of my faith books and not a business book. Each quarter of the year, I select some books to read. I usually do about 2 business books and 2 faith books, but definitely do 1 business book and 1 faith book per quarter. So it accumulates to 4 per year. I select them, I put them in my cupboard, and that's my, you get to do that every single quarter, but it's also my challenge for myself. So it's 2 business related books. And the idea about that is to strengthen my business knowledge and application, of course. And then there's the 2 faith element books. The 2 faith books is to strengthen me personally in my faith journey. So when I took this book, The Bait of Satan by John Bevere, not for one moment did I think it would be such a massive impact on me personally, but also my business, and very much so the undertone of what I teach entrepreneurs. So as I went through it, it was just one of those things that I was so eager about to bring into wisdom, meaning this series. And it's all about offense. If you've read the book, a lot of these things are gonna, sound familiar. If you've never read the book, we're gonna do 3-week series on offense. So today we're kind of gonna do the overview of what offense is and how we see that fit into entrepreneurship. And then next week we're really gonna dive deeper into the practical assessment and application on the opposite side. And then week 3, we'll bring it to a close with a bit more practical tools. So offense for me is a 3-week series. I don't want to rush through it. Today might seem like a rush, but that's just to bring you up to speed on the overall thing about that. And that's the topic of the book that's inspired the 3-week series of offense. A topic that I always assumed I understood. I always assumed I understood the meaning of it. And boy, was I wrong, and was I convicted. And by changing some things, it actually helped me a lot. And I trust and I pray it will help you, especially as entrepreneur and founder as well. Now, there's a massive trap out there. Drink some water for dramatic effect. There's a massive trap out there, an actual known spiritual trap that we all fall in. And this is a trap that most entrepreneurs don't see, an invisible problem. There's a problem in business that no one puts on a dashboard. You won't see it in your CRM. It won't show up in your financial reports. No KPIs is tracking it, but it is there, quietly shaping decisions, altering relationships, slowing down growth, and in some cases, completely destroying what you're busy building as a founder and entrepreneur. And that problem, of course, is what we're talking about today, is offense. And what makes it so dangerous is that it rarely looks like sin. It looks like justification. It sounds like I'm just being honest. They shouldn't have said it like that. I deserve better than that. They don't respect me. And slowly and subtly, you start building a case, not a business. You build a case against people, against clients, against your team, against leadership, against feedback. And before you realize it, you're no longer leading clearly. You are reacting emotionally. But why offense is commonly misunderstood. One of the most powerful ideas from The Bait of Satan by John Bevere is this: offense is not obvious, it's deceptive. The word used in scripture for offense comes from the idea of a trap, a baited trap. I want you to really just think this in for a moment. Okay, it's this baited trap, which means something very important. The bait looks good, okay, because that's the purpose of an idea. The bait needs to look good. And that's very important. The bait needs to look good. It looks justified, like there's a reason for me having this. It looks deserved. Otherwise, of course, no one would take it. There's a reason why a bait is presented as it is. No one walks up and says, today I'd like to ruin my relationships and damage my leadership. No, you take offense because it feels right in the moment, because something did happen, someone did say something, something did feel unfair. So you take the bait. And once you do, you are trapped, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, relationally, and very dangerously spiritually. I just want to quickly pause there. I know today sounds a lot like a hard sermon. Usually, when it comes to wisdom, it's more on the business side of things, right? We don't lecture, we don't teach, we take certain nuggets of that we learn and inspired on, and well, without over explaining, can head on over to our YouTube and go and check exactly the different topics and what it's all about. But offense is a spiritual warfare that carries out in your business, 100%, in your life, in your marriage, in everything that you do. And you as entrepreneur that wants to excel, that wants to grow, there's going to be so many valid, reasonable, well-reasoned, well-logicked areas that you are allowed to feel offended. And that's why I'm warning you kind of about the spiritual backdrop. Because when we're going to look at some of the entrepreneurial and some of the business related context of today, but especially next week and the week thereafter, I want you to really realize that this trap is so spiritually powerful that it can, or I almost want to say, will ruin your business venture, your business future, and how you feel about work. You're going to get there one morning and say, I'm not really, less or in the mood to go to work or anything like that. So this is a very, very dangerous part for entrepreneurs, because offense doesn't just affect how you feel. It affects how you interpret everything. Feedback becomes attack. Correction becomes disrespect. Silence becomes rejection. Delay becomes dishonor. And now you're no longer responding to reality. You're responding to distorted perception. And I made a note here on Proverbs 18, verse 19, just to kind of bring it back to Solomon's words. It says the following: an offended brother is more unyielding than a fortified city. Now, I quickly just want to say something there, or want to add to this. So on this is what I'm just thinking now. On this venture or on this journey where I'm really more mindful of offense, one would think, naturally speaking, you don't get offended or don't fall in that trap as much. And I actually want to say you still do, and a lot more so. But you're just more vigilant on why it's happening, and you're more vigilant on to get out of there really soon. Just this week alone, I counted this morning, very early, preparing for this, waking up, I said to myself, okay, I actually want to see where I got offended, if I can recall offense this week. And I very, very comfortably, easily recall 3 occasions. One of something that a friend said or did, one that a prospect or lead replied to one of my proposals. And there was another one that I'm not going to make a very, very direct reference here, but something personal as well. And in that brief moment, I reminded myself that there's no offense going to be taken, no action towards it, no change of heart. And I did it very well. But inside me, there was still the seed of offense. And when I brought it back home, I really needed to break down the walls and kill it, and get out of that space really soon for it not to have an effect. And it wouldn't have had a major effect moving forward, but it definitely would have had a hardened of heart, even if it's just like on the side or anything like that. So this, for me, in this process, this 3 weeks process, and I really just feel like saying it today, is not a thing about you're going to read the book or you're going to listen to this context and you're going to be like, okay, I'm free, it's never going to happen to me. It really happens more often. I think personally, this is my take of it, is by knowing this, reading the books, looking at the content, knowing all of this, in hindsight, it actually, you get offended as much, maybe sometimes even more, just because you now recognize really what offense is, and really more in tune of when not to take it or never to take it. Okay, so the circumstances, I don't feel that it changes. It's your heart and your approach towards things, and it really is a conscious thing. So yeah, this is what offense does to a person. And now imagine trying to, in your business, trying to lead while living behind walls, if we take Solomon's example there. So this is my prayer for you in your business. As you start opening up yourself up to this possibility, as the trap is for Christians, meaning we are the actual ones taking offense. Everyone takes offense, but we think that we exempted from it. And this is actually the opposite. So instead of saying yes, but, every time offense happens, yes, but that person, or not me, but they, really just stop validating your reason or justifying it and think about the bigger impact, which concludes to the heart and attitude towards everyone. So why Christians take offense and why we shouldn't? This is where it gets uncomfortable, because offense is not just a worldly problem, it's a Christian problem. In fact, often more so. Why? Because expectations are higher. You expect people to act better, to speak better, to treat you better, and when they don't, the disappointment hits harder. Now layer that into your business. You expect your team to understand you. You expect your clients to respect you. You expect your partners to align with you. You expect your boss to, help you build your career. And when they don't, offense enters quietly. But scripture doesn't give us permission to live offended. Proverbs 19 verse 11 says, a person's wisdom yields patience. It is to one's glory to overlook an offense, not react to it, not amplify it, to overlook it. At least you ought to. Let's say something did actually happen to you. Does that give you the right to be offended? I mean, I would have 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I would have always said, well, in certain cases, yes. An employee stole from you, a client didn't pay, your boss did not promote you, someone talked behind your back, someone lied. Does that give you the right to be offended? For so long, we lived by the means of yes, because I was wronged, I can be offended. It's only the action on what I do with that offense that will be debatable in the categories of right or wrong. And I'm here to tell you that if you live by Jesus, you do not have the right to be offended from the start. In Jesus's end time prophecy, I love this when I read this. When he talks about the end times, right? We love referring to the end times when we look at wars. And don't worry, I'm not going to predict a date here today. But he warns us, he warns his disciples by saying that in the end times, brothers will take offense to one another, which leads to hardening of hearts. Then comes the false prophets, etc., etc. We are so focused on the false prophets entering the era. We watch all the Netflix documentaries on them. We try to point them out and everything like that. False prophets, very, very more difficult to point out. We're so focused on the wars and end times that we kind of forget the starting off point that Jesus said. Jesus started off by saying that all of this starts off by taking offense, and as a result, hardening our hearts. So he clearly tells us what offense does, how it hardens our hearts, and how that distracts us so that we are unable to see the false prophets, the bad, the everything entering into that space, because we're so focused on building up walls and protecting our own emotional well-being, our own well-being in our hearts and everything like that. And he warns us and says, that is the dangerous point. That's where it starts. So offense seems innocent or justifiable if we were the victims. And I'm telling you today that regardless if you are the victim, you actually have no right for offense. And as a matter of fact, you should stay as far away from it as possible. And that doesn't mean ignore problems. It means you're not controlled by emotional reaction, because here's the truth. Offense feels powerful in the moment, but it makes you weak over time. It steals clarity, it clouds judgment, it isolates you, and worst of all, it blinds you. And that's the real danger. When you're offended, you think you see clearly, but you don't. You see selectively. Then there's the entrepreneurial impact, where this is kind of like more hard to take in. Let's bring this into your actual world, the entrepreneur, the business person, the working professional, because this is not just a spiritual theory, this is operational reality. Think about your last difficult interaction. A client questioned your pricing, a team member challenged your decision, a partner didn't follow through, a lead ignored your proposal. What was your internal reaction? Was it curiosity, which I doubt, or was it defense? Because offense shows up in the micro moments in between. By the way, offense always shows up as either, as I mentioned before, you actually have the right to be offended, which you don't, or you do not, meaning you took offense based on wrong information or wrong interpretation of the right information, right? You don't storm out of meetings, you just become slightly colder, slightly less patient, slightly more reactive, and those slight shifts, those are the things that compound. Now your team feels it. Your communication changes, your tone shifts, your decision-making tightens, and eventually your culture reflects your internal state. An offended leader builds a defensive culture. And a defensive culture don't innovate. They survive at best. They survive kind of like barely. So why should you have the change of heart? And this is the turning point on kind of like where I want to start landing to build this more into the entrepreneurial setting for next week. Because understanding offense is one thing, But experiencing a change of heart, that's where transformation begins. And this is what makes the early chapters of The Bait of Satan so powerful. They don't just expose offense, they confront the heart, especially to you, the reader. Because the real issue is not what happened to you, it's what you do with what happened. Apologies. So let me say that again. The issue is not the event, it is your response. And this is where wisdom steps in. Because wisdom pauses, wisdom questions, wisdom asks, what else could be true here? What am I not seeing? Is the actual personal or the actual person being personal, or am I making it personal? Because when that shift happens, everything changes. Now, feedback is not an attack, it's data. Conflict is not rejection, it's clarification. And tension is not a threat anymore, it's an opportunity for growth. This enables you to see clients and teams completely differently. It becomes powerful, especially very powerful in business, because once your heart shifts, your lens and your view shifts with it. Now, when a client pushes back, you don't get defensive, you get curious. What are they actually trying to solve? When a team member challenges you, you don't shut them down, you lean in. What am I missing? When someone communicates poorly, you don't mirror it, you rise above it because you're no longer reacting, you're leading. And here's the truth, most leaders don't fail because of lack of intelligence, they fail because they take things personally. And personal leadership is unstable leadership. But when offense is removed, clarity actually returns. You see people better. You lead people better. You build people better. And I actually want to say you see people. Offense is not just a feeling, it's a trap. And the bait will always look justified. Every single time, always. But if you take it, it will cost you relationships, clarity, growth, impact. I want to say opportunity. I definitely want to add here, if that creeps in, you can strength test yourself in the moment and say, listen, yeah, do I have the desire inside of me to pray for that person, to hope for that person to be in heaven one day, to care for their business, to understand that their business has got a success? Or in that micro element, do I just wish that person gets a pain in the hoo-ha right in that moment? So the goal is not to avoid difficult situations. The goal is to avoid taking the bait, because the moment that you actually do, you lose your ability to lead clearly. So I'll quickly want to just say out a small challenge for this week. This is a challenge for this week. Don't just watch your actions, okay? Watch your reactions. Notice your thoughts and notice your feelings about that person. Maybe evaluate all your walls that you already have, that every therapist tells you to build up in order to protect yourself and guard yourself, and ask if Jesus built up the same walls, rightfully so, in order to protect his heart against the wrongdoers, where would that place us today? Notice when something triggers you, pause, step back, and ask yourself, am I about to take the bait? Because if you can win that moment, that very moment, to win that over, you don't just grow spiritually, you become a better leader, a better communicator, a better builder, and ultimately, compounding everything that we're discussing here, plus everything on your journey, a wiser one. And that's what we want. So guys, thank you so much for joining Wisdom today. Have a beautiful day. If you're streaming on any single platform and you're not getting the resources to this list, you can check out the links in our bios for that, or just comment or DM or send us a message and say, Dion, I want to get resources on Wisdom and the other series, and in business in general, what you guys are busy building. We don't spam you. At most, it's once a week, sometimes even a bit longer. And it's just added resources to this. So if you're not getting the resources, why don't you hit us up with your email address? You don't need to give it to us direct. You can put it in the comment section. You can put it in, send it into the in messages. But all our platforms does have our email. You can email us. All these links to that newsletter where you can sign up. If you've previously signed up on our newsletters, what we're going to do is we're literally just going to import those, send it up to a subscription database where you can actually unsubscribe, and we're just going to run it more professionally from that side. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here this morning. Have a beautiful week and enjoy. If you've enjoyed this content, you need any more on this, on our YouTube channel is the entire wisdom series that gets uploaded in the moment. And